My body's too big, human. I'm not breeding material. But he held her, loved her, and got her pregnant. The station called K-17 Driftway floated at the edge of mapped space, far from planets that cared and even farther from people who asked questions. It was built for function, not comfort. Long metal corridors curved like ribs around a hollow core, and the lights never fully warmed the steel. Ships docked, unloaded, repaired, and left. Lives passed through, but none were meant to stay. Valera had stayed for 7 cycles. She moved slowly through the cargo ring, her heavy boots making dull sounds against the deck. Every step was measured, not because she was weak, but because she was too strong. One careless movement could dent a wall or crack a crate, and she had learned long ago that attention only brought trouble. Valera was large, even by the standards of her own species, taller than most males, broader in the shoulders. Her arms were thick with dense muscle, her skin a muted stone blue marked with faint silver lines that showed her age and health. Those lines should have been admired. Instead, they were studied, measured, and judged. Structural Unit 7 reporting, a mechanical voice echoed above her. She did not answer. The unit was not speaking to her as a person. It was logging her presence, her mass, her movement speed. Everything about her had been reduced to numbers. When she had first arrived at K-17, she had believed the station would be temporary. Her people, the Cathari, were a proud species known across the sector as builders and soldiers. Strong bodies, strict roles, clear purpose, but Valera did not fit. Her size made her powerful, but it also made her imbalanced, according to the genetic councils. Her internal structure was slightly different. Her body burned more energy. Her growth patterns did not match the approved curves. Where others saw strength, the councils saw risk. They called her non-viable. The word followed her across space. On K-17, no one used that word out loud, but they treated her the same way. She was assigned heavy labor, cargo moving, hull reinforcement, emergency lifting, jobs where strength mattered more than conversation. She accepted them all. Talking only led to questions. Questions led to pity or fear. Both were exhausting. As she reached the end of the cargo ring, a warning tone sounded. A transport ship was docking, human-built by the sound of it. Fast rhythm, uneven pattern. Humans never did things the same way twice. Valera paused. Humans were different. Smaller than most Cathari, softer in build, yet strangely confident. They spoke easily, laughed loudly, and touched things they did not own as if the universe belonged to them. She had learned to keep her distance. The docking bay doors opened with a hiss, releasing a rush of warmer air and voices. A group of humans stepped out, wearing mismatched uniforms and carrying cases that looked too light for the care they gave them. One of them tripped. The crate he was holding slipped from his grip, sliding toward the edge of the ramp. Without thinking, Valera moved. Her hand shot out, catching the crate mid-slide. The impact barely registered to her muscles, but the deck beneath her boots groaned in protest. She steadied herself and placed the crate gently back onto the ramp. The human stared up at her. He was average height for his species, dark hair cut short, face marked by tired lines around the eyes. His uniform bore the insignia of a civilian transport officer. He looked surprised but not afraid. He said. Thanks. Valera nodded once and stepped back. That would have been a mess, he continued. Those parts are fragile. She did not respond. Gratitude often came with expectations. The human frowned slightly, then smiled, awkward but genuine. I'm Ethan Hale, she hesitated. Names were personal, but refusing could also draw attention. Valera, she said quietly. Well, Valera, Ethan said, adjusting his grip on the crate, I appreciate the save. He waited as if expecting more. When none came, he shrugged and followed his crew deeper into the station. Valera watched him go, then returned to her work. Hours passed. The station settled into its usual rhythm of distant engine hums and low voices. Valera reinforced a damaged bulkhead, lifting a panel that took 3 mechanical arms to hold in place. Sweat traced slow paths down her skin, her silver lines dimming as her body adjusted to the strain. She worked until the task was complete, then logged out and headed toward the lower habitation levels. Her quarters were small, reinforced to support her mass, with a bed that was more like a padded platform. She preferred it that way. Smaller spaces felt safer. As she entered the corridor, she heard voices ahead, telling you the load wasn't secured properly. That's not what the scan showed. Valera slowed. A crowd meant trouble. She rounded the corner to see Ethan again, standing near a wall panel with 2 station supervisors. A crate lay open on the floor, its contents scattered, thin metal components bent at strange angles. That crate was logged as intact, one supervisor said coldly. Damage occurred after docking. Ethan shook his head. No, sir, it was damaged before. I almost dropped it because the internal brace was broken. You were assisted by a Cathari labor unit, the other supervisor said, glancing at Valera. Perhaps excessive force was applied. Valera felt the familiar tightening in her chest. I caught it, she said, her voice low but steady. I did not crush it. Ethan turned to her, surprised. Then he looked back at the supervisors. She's right. She barely touched it. Honestly, if she hadn't been there, it would have shattered completely. The supervisors exchanged looks. Our scans will determine fault, one said. You may leave. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. As he walked past Valera, he lowered his voice. Sorry about that. She watched him go, something unfamiliar stirring beneath her ribs. No one had defended her before. Not without reason. Not without benefit. That night, Valera did not sleep immediately. She lay on her platform, staring at the dim ceiling lights, replaying the brief exchange over and over. It meant nothing, she told herself. Humans were known for impulsive kindness. It did not last. The next day, an emergency alarm cut through the station. Hull breach, cargo ring. Valera was already moving before the alert finished sounding. She ran toward the ring, her long strides eating distance as crew members scattered. The breach had torn open a section near the outer wall. Atmosphere screamed into space, pulling loose cargo with it. 2 figures clung to a railing near the breach. Humans. One of them was Ethan. Without hesitation, Valera anchored herself against a support beam and reached out. The force tugged at her arm, but she held firm. She grabbed the first human and secured him behind her. Then she reached again. Ethan's grip was slipping. Take my hand, he shouted. She did. His fingers were small in her grasp, warm and shaking. She pulled him free of the suction and shielded him with her body as emergency barriers slammed into place. The air pressure stabilized, leaving only the echo of alarms and heavy breathing. Ethan looked up at her, eyes wide. You saved us, he said. She released him quickly and stepped back. It was my task. No, he said, standing. It was, you chose to. Around them, crew members stared, some with awe, some with unease. Later, after reports were filed and damage assessed, Ethan found Valera near the maintenance lifts. Hey, he said carefully. Can I talk to you? She considered refusing. But something in his tone was different, not demanding, not curious in the wrong way. Yes, she said. They sat on a reinforced bench near the lift bay. For a moment, neither spoke. I heard them call you a unit, Ethan said finally. That's not right. It is efficient, Valera replied. I am built for labor. He shook his head. You're built for more than that. You know that, right? Her silver lines dimmed slightly, a sign of discomfort. My people disagree. Well, he said softly, your people weren't there today, I was. She looked at him then, really looked at him. There was no calculation in his eyes, no fear, just sincerity. You are strange, she said. Ethan smiled. Yeah, I get that a lot. For the first time in many cycles, Valera felt something loosen inside her, just a little, like a door opening that she had believed sealed forever. She did not know it yet, but the galaxy had already made a mistake. It had decided her future based on limits. And humans, as always, were about to prove that limits were only the beginning. The days after the hull breach passed quietly, but something on K-17 Driftway had changed. It was not written into any system log or station report, yet it could be felt in the way people looked twice, paused, or lowered their voices when Valera passed through the corridors. She noticed it immediately. Crew members no longer stepped directly into her path, but they also did not flinch away as sharply as before. Some nodded. A few offered quick words of thanks. None stayed long, but the silence around her had shifted. It was thinner now, less heavy. Valera did not know how to respond to it. She continued her work as always, reinforcing damaged structures, moving cargo too dense for machines alone, standing guard during repairs near vacuum zones. Her body performed exactly as it always had, efficient, precise, tireless. But her thoughts were less orderly. They kept returning to the human, Ethan Hale. He had not avoided her after the incident. If anything, he seemed to seek her out, though never in a way that felt forced. Sometimes he would simply walk beside her for a few minutes, matching his shorter steps to her longer stride. Other times he would sit nearby while she worked, pretending to review cargo logs while clearly just watching. Not studying, watching. "How long have you been on the station?" he asked one day as she secured a massive conduit panel. "7 cycles," she replied. "That's a long time," he said. "You ever think about leaving?" She tightened the final bolt. "There is no assignment elsewhere," he frowned. "No choice at all." "There are always choices," she said. "Some are simply closed." He did not argue, he only nodded as if accepting something difficult but real. That was what unsettled her most about Ethan. He did not try to fix things immediately. He listened first. One shift later, a supply convoy arrived late and underguarded. The outer defense drones were down for maintenance, and station control ordered all non-essential personnel to shelter. Valera was already near the cargo ring when the alert came through. Ethan was there too. "What's going on?" he asked, jogging to her side. "Pirate activity reported in nearby space," she said. "Low probability of breach." "Low probability always seems to mean get ready," he muttered. They took position near a reinforced access door. The station lights dimmed, switching to emergency power. The hum of the station deepened like a held breath. Moments later, the sound of impact echoed through the hull. Not a breach, a test strike. Valera's muscles tightened automatically. She stepped forward, placing herself between the access door and the humans sheltering behind it. Ethan noticed. "You don't have to." "It is acceptable," she said. "I am rated for impact." He did not like that answer. She could tell by the way his jaw tightened. The second impact was stronger. The station shook. Cargo crates rattled, then silence. After several long minutes, the alert cleared. The pirates had retreated, likely deciding K-17 was not worth the effort. Relief spread through the ring. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Guess they decided not to push their luck." Valera turned to face him. "Luck is not a factor, deterrence is." He smiled faintly. "You humans aren't the only ones who know that, huh?" She tilted her head. "You find that amusing." "I find it reassuring," he said. Later, after the station returned to normal operations, Ethan approached her again. This time his posture was different, hesitant. "There's a place," he said. "In the lower commons. It's not much, but they serve warm food." Valera stiffened slightly. "I do not require." "I know," he said quickly. "It's not about requirement. I just thought, if you wanted to sit somewhere that isn't a cargo bay." She considered refusing. Sharing space without purpose felt dangerous, but something in his expression told her this was not a test or a trap. "Very well," she said. The lower commons was small and dim, filled with mismatched tables bolted to the floor. The air smelled of recycled spices and heated protein. A few off-duty crew members sat scattered around, talking quietly. When Valera entered, conversation paused. She felt the familiar weight settle on her shoulders. Ethan noticed. He did not rush her. He simply walked ahead, pulled out a reinforced chair, and gestured for her to sit. When she did, he took the seat across from her, not beside, not too close. The server, a compact alien with flexible limbs, hesitated before approaching. "What will you have?" it asked Ethan, avoiding Valera's eyes. "Whatever she's having," Ethan said calmly. Valera looked at him. "I have not ordered." "Then I guess we'll both wait," he replied. The server blinked, then turned to Valera. "And you?" She named a basic nutrient dish, something easy on her system. Ethan ordered the same. When the food arrived, they ate in silence for a few minutes. Valera noticed Ethan watched her hands, not her face, as if careful not to stare. "You don't eat with others often, do you?" he asked gently. "No," she said. "Because of them," he said, nodding toward the room. "Because of me," she corrected. He shook his head. "That's not how it looks from where I'm sitting." She paused. "How does it look?" He met her eyes. "Like someone who's been told their whole life to take up less space, even when they're the strongest person in the room." The words struck deeper than she expected. Her silver lines flickered faintly. "My strength is not valued," she said quietly, "only controlled." "That's a mistake," Ethan said, "and humans are very good at noticing mistakes." She almost laughed. Almost. Over the next few cycles, their meetings became routine. Short conversations during shifts, shared meals in the lower commons, quiet moments sitting near observation windows, watching distant stars slide past the station's curved glass. Ethan talked about Earth, about open skies and oceans that never ended, about how humans argued endlessly but still stood together when it mattered. Valera spoke less, but when she did, he listened as if every word mattered. She told him about the Cathari councils, about the measurements, the charts, the moment she had been declared non-viable. She described the room where the decision had been made, cold, white, silent. "They said my body was too large," she said. "That reproduction would strain resources. That deviation invited instability." Ethan's hands clenched. "Did they ever ask what you wanted?" She shook her head. "Desire was considered irrelevant." "That's wrong," he said simply. The word wrong felt powerful in his mouth. Humans used it freely, without fear of authority. One evening, a medical drone malfunctioned near the habitation ring. Its navigation failed, sending it crashing into a support pillar. The impact destabilized a section of the corridor ceiling. Valera was there before anyone else. She braced the falling structure with her shoulders, muscles burning as alarms blared. The weight was immense, far beyond safe parameters. Her vision blurred slightly. Then she felt hands on her arm. "Hold on," Ethan said, his voice tight. "Reinforcements are coming." "You should move back," she said. "This is dangerous." "So is letting you do it alone," he replied. Others arrived moments later with support beams and grav lifts. The ceiling was secured. The danger passed. When it was over, Valera sank to one knee, breathing heavily. Ethan crouched in front of her. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "Minor strain." He did not believe her completely, but he accepted it. Later, as station medics checked her vitals, Ethan stood nearby, not hovering, not interfering, just present. For the first time in her life, Valera realized something important. He did not see her strength as something that needed permission. He trusted it. That night, as she lay on her platform, her body aching pleasantly from exertion, she stared at the ceiling lights again. But this time, her thoughts were not heavy. They were uncertain and hopeful. The galaxy had told her who she was allowed to be. A human had shown her that the galaxy might be wrong. And that realization, more than any physical force, was beginning to change everything. Life on K-17 Driftway returned to its steady rhythm, but for Valera, nothing felt the same anymore. The station was still metal and lights and distant engine hums, yet her days now had pauses in them. Moments where she found herself listening for footsteps that were lighter than her own. Moments where she noticed time passing in a way she never had before. Ethan did not change the station. He changed how she moved through it. They did not make promises. They did not define what they were to each other. It began with shared meals and quiet talks, then slowly became something deeper without either of them naming it. Valera still worked longer hours than most. Her body demanded movement, purpose. But now, when she finished a task, she sometimes found Ethan waiting nearby, leaning against a wall, pretending to review data on his wrist pad. "You're done early," he would say. "Efficiency improves with repetition," she replied. "Funny," he said. "Humans say the same thing, but we rarely mean it." She learned human humor slowly. It was layered and strange, often hiding seriousness beneath light words. Ethan's humor was gentle, never sharp. Never at her expense. That mattered more than she could explain. One cycle, the station received a delegation from the Cathari core worlds. Inspectors, genetic auditors. Their arrival sent a ripple of tension through Valera's chest the moment she heard the announcement. She had not seen her own people in years. "They're here to review labor efficiency," Station Control announced. "All Cathari personnel are to submit updated biometric scans." Valera stood still for a long moment after the message ended. Ethan noticed immediately. "Hey." "What's wrong?" "My people," she said. "They are coming." He frowned. "That's bad," she met his eyes. "They will remind me why I was sent away." He did not ask her to explain further. He only said, "You don't have to face them alone." "I always have," she replied. "Maybe not this time." The inspectors arrived 2 days later. Tall, armored figures with identical posture and identical expressions. Their silver markings were brighter than Valera's, polished and proud. They moved through the station as if it belonged to them, ignoring humans and other species alike. When Valera stood before them for evaluation, she felt smaller than she ever had, despite her size. "Subject Valera," the lead inspector said, his voice cold. "Deviation parameters unchanged." She said nothing. "Continued labor assignment approved," he continued. "No reproductive clearance granted." The words were delivered without cruelty, but also without care. Ethan was not allowed in the evaluation chamber. Humans were considered irrelevant to Cathari internal matters. He waited outside, jaw tight, hands clenched. When Valera emerged, her posture was rigid. "They said what they always say," she told him. "And you?" he asked. "What do you say?" She hesitated. "I say nothing." "That is allowed?" he asked quietly. She looked at him, surprised. "For them, yes." They walked in silence for a while. Then Ethan stopped near an observation window. Stars drifted past, distant and calm. "You know," he said, "humans had councils like that once. Still do in some places. People who decide who fits and who doesn't." "And," she asked, "and they were wrong every time." She watched the stars. "Your species believes itself correct often," he smiled. "Oh, we don't. We just believe we can be better." That night Valera dreamed. She dreamed of open space, not cold and empty but wide and welcoming. She dreamed of standing somewhere without walls. She dreamed of being seen without judgment. When she woke, her silver lines glowed softly, something that had not happened since her youth. Over the following cycles, subtle changes began in her body. At first, she dismissed them. Fatigue came and went. Her appetite shifted. Her internal rhythms felt uneven. She told herself it was stress, the presence of her people, the strain of heavy work, but deep inside something else stirred. Cathari biology was precise, documented, controlled. Deviations were rare, and Valera was already a deviation. She did not mention the changes to anyone, not even Ethan. Speaking them aloud felt dangerous, as if naming them might invite disappointment. Instead, she found herself drawn closer to him, sitting beside him longer, letting their shoulders touch briefly when they walked. Accepting his presence in her quarters when station policy allowed shared downtime. They talked late into artificial nights. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked once. "All the time," he said, "but I also like who I am out here. Space forces you to choose what matters." "What matters to you?" she asked. He did not answer immediately. He looked at her, really looked at her as if weighing honesty. People, he said, not systems, not rules, people. Her chest tightened. Then you would not do well among my kind. Maybe not, he said. But I'd try anyway. The next emergency came without warning. A freighter misaligned during docking, slamming into the outer ring. Structural alarms screamed. Gravity fluctuated violently. Valera was already moving before orders were issued. She grabbed Ethan as the floor tilted, anchoring them both against a support beam. "Stay behind me," she said. "I'm not fragile," he protested. "I know," she said, "but I am stronger." The freighter tore loose panels from the ring, exposing raw structure. Valera held a collapsing support long enough for emergency barriers to deploy. The strain was enormous. Pain lanced through her core. Something inside her felt wrong. When the crisis passed, she staggered. Ethan caught her arm. "Hey, you're not okay." "I am functional," she said automatically. "Valera," he said firmly. "Look at me." She did. Her vision swam slightly. "You're shaking," he said. "That's not normal for you." She wanted to deny it. Instead, she nodded once. Station medics insisted on a scan. Valera resisted, but Ethan stayed beside her, his presence steady. The medical bay lights hummed softly as the scanner moved over her body. Data streamed across the display. The medic froze. "That's unexpected," the medic said. Valera's heart hammered. "State the anomaly." The medic hesitated. "There are indicators of internal adaptation, hormonal shifts consistent with early gestational response." The room went silent. Ethan's breath caught. "You mean?" Valera raised a hand. "No assumptions." The medic swallowed. "Cathari records list gestation as impossible for subjects of her classification, but the data is clear." Valera closed her eyes. "Impossible." The word echoed in her mind, heavy with history. Ethan did not speak. He only stepped closer, careful, as if afraid to startle her. "I don't understand," she said softly. "My body was deemed unsuitable." "Bodies don't always follow decisions," the medic said, "especially when stress parameters change." "Or when care changes," Ethan added quietly. Valera looked at him. Her silver lines flared brightly, an uncontrolled response. "This changes nothing," she said, more to herself than to anyone else. "My people will not accept this." "Your people aren't here," Ethan said. "You are." The medic cleared their throat. "We should run further tests." Carefully, Valera nodded. "Yes." As they left the medical bay, Ethan walked beside her, not touching, giving her space. "Are you afraid?" he asked. "Yes," she said honestly. "Me too," he admitted. "But not of you, never of you." She stopped walking and turned to face him. "I was told my entire life that my body was wrong," she said, "that I could not create life, that my existence was a mistake." Ethan met her gaze. "Then the universe disagrees." Tears did not come. Cathari did not cry easily. But something warm spread through her chest, pushing against years of restraint. "I do not know what comes next," she said. "Neither do I," he said. "But we'll face it together if you want." She considered him, the human who had never stepped back, who had never tried to control or measure her. "Yes," she said, "I want that." Far beyond the station, in places ruled by charts and predictions, the galaxy still believed it understood what was possible. But on K-17 Driftway, something impossible had already begun. And it was growing. The news did not stay private for long. On a station like K-17 Driftway, information traveled faster than ships. Medical alerts were logged. Resource adjustments were requested. And one flagged anomaly, especially one labeled impossible, was enough to wake sleeping systems across multiple sectors. Valera felt it before she saw it. The way station staff suddenly became careful around her. The way med drones hovered longer than necessary. The way conversations stopped when she entered a room. Ethan noticed too. "They're watching you," he said one evening as they walked through a quieter corridor near the habitation ring. "They always have," Valera replied. "This is different," he said. "This feels like interest." She did not like interest. Additional scans confirmed the first results. The life inside her was real, stable, and adapting in ways no Cathari model had predicted. The station medical team worked slowly and respectfully, adjusting procedures rather than forcing her body to follow rigid expectations. Human doctors joined remotely, offering suggestions instead of commands. "How do you feel?" they asked. "What causes discomfort? What helps?" No one had ever asked her those questions before. Ethan attended every consultation he was allowed to. When he was not allowed, he waited outside without complaint. He never spoke over her, never answered for her. He stood beside her, not in front. That mattered. The Cathari response came swiftly. An official transmission arrived from the core worlds, marked with priority codes Valera recognized instantly. A delegation was being assembled. Genetic authorities, cultural overseers, security escorts. They wanted answers. "They will try to take control," Valera said quietly after reading the notice. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Can they?" "They will try," she repeated. "They will say it is for safety, for stability." "And what do you think it's for?" he asked. She met his eyes. "Correction." When the delegation arrived, the station felt smaller. The Cathari ships docked with precision and force, their hulls polished, their markings sharp. Armed escorts moved through the corridors, drawing lines where none had existed before. Valera stood taller than any of them, yet she felt the old pressure settle over her shoulders. The lead genetic authority requested immediate access. Station control hesitated. Humans debated. Policies clashed. In the end, a compromise was reached. Evaluations would occur on K-17. No forced relocation. No invasive procedures without consent. The Cathari were displeased. The evaluation chamber was cold and white, just as she remembered. The lead authority circled her slowly, scanning devices humming. "Your condition is unstable," he said. "Your body was not designed for this." "My body exists," Valera replied. "Design is irrelevant." "That answer is emotional," he said, "not scientific." "Your conclusions are outdated," she said evenly. Murmurs rippled through the delegation. "This union should not have occurred," another authority said. "Cross-species bonding introduces unacceptable variables." Ethan stood behind the observation barrier, fists clenched. Valera turned her head slightly. "You classified me as non-viable. You removed me from reproductive consideration. By your own laws, my choices should not concern you." Silence followed. The lead authority's expression hardened. "This development challenges our entire genetic framework." "Yes," Valera said. "It does." Human representatives spoke then, calm, firm. "We are observing a stable condition," one said. "Intervention without cause would be unethical." "Ethics are cultural," the Cathari replied. "So is fear," the human answered. Tension filled the room. In the days that followed, debate spread beyond the station. Scientific forums lit up. Cultural councils argued. Some Cathari called Valera a danger. Others called her a miracle. Most simply did not know what to think. Valera felt the weight of it all pressing down on her. Some nights she sat alone in her quarters, one hand resting unconsciously over her abdomen. Her body was changing. Slowly, carefully. Strong as ever, yet softer in ways she had never allowed herself to be. Ethan never assumed, never touched unless invited. "Are you okay?" he asked often. "I am learning," she answered. One evening, exhaustion overtook her during a routine walk. She stumbled slightly, caught herself, then leaned heavily against the wall. "That's it," Ethan said gently. "We're sitting." She allowed it. They sat near an observation window, stars drifting past. The station lights reflected faintly off her silver lines, which now glowed with steady warmth. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Of what?" he asked. "Of failing," she said. "Of proving them right." He considered his words carefully. "You know, humans fail all the time, constantly. It's kind of our thing." She looked at him, confused. "We mess up," he continued. "We fall. We try again. Failure isn't proof of weakness for us, it's proof that we tried. Her people had never believed that. I do not know how to be uncertain, she said. Then we'll figure it out together, he said. Medical updates continued to surprise everyone. The child's development showed adaptive traits, resilience, efficient energy use, strong structural integrity without excessive mass. Balanced, one human doctor noted. Impossible, a Cathari geneticist muttered. Valera heard both. One cycle, a public hearing was broadcast across the station and beyond. Valera was asked to speak. She stood before cameras, before species that had judged her without knowing her. I was told my body was wrong, she said calmly, that I took up too much space, that my existence was inefficient. She paused. My body saved lives on this station. My body endures strain others cannot, and now my body carries life. The chamber was silent. You built your systems to eliminate deviation, she continued. Humans taught me that deviation is how systems grow. Ethan watched from the side, pride and worry mixing in his eyes. The hearing changed things, not immediately, not completely, but doubt entered places where certainty had ruled for generations. Afterward, Valera felt drained. The weight of being a symbol pressed on her more heavily than any cargo she had ever lifted. Ethan walked with her back to her quarters. You didn't have to do that, he said. Yes, she replied. I did. Inside, she sat on the edge of her platform, breathing slowly. I am tired, she admitted. He nodded. Then rest, I'll be right here. She hesitated, then spoke. Stay. He did, not touching, not speaking, just present. For the first time in her life, rest did not feel like weakness. Beyond K-17 Driftway, policies began to shift. Language changed. Words like non-viable were questioned, quietly at first. The galaxy resisted change. But resistance, Valera was learning, did not stop momentum. It only proved that something important was moving forward. And inside her, steady and strong, the impossible continued to grow. The final months passed more quietly than anyone expected, not because the galaxy had stopped watching, but because it no longer knew what to say. On K-17 Driftway, life continued. Ships arrived and departed. Crews worked, argued, laughed, and slept. The station remained what it had always been, a place between places. But for Valera, it had become something more than an assignment. It had become home. Her body changed steadily, carefully. The medical teams learned to trust what they saw instead of what old data told them should happen. Adjustments were made not to control her body, but to support it. Human methods blended with Cathari knowledge, creating care plans that had never existed before. Valera remained strong. She still worked, though her duties were adjusted. She no longer lifted the heaviest structures, but she trained others, teaching them how to move with precision instead of force. She discovered patience she did not know she had. Ethan stayed close, always respectful, always present. Some days they talked about the future. Other days they simply shared silence. One evening, as artificial night settled over the station, Valera stood at the observation window alone. Her silver lines glowed softly, steady and calm. The stars beyond felt less distant now. You're thinking again, Ethan said as he joined her. Yes, she replied. Dangerous habit, he said lightly. She turned to him. My people have sent another message. He did not hide his concern. And they want me to return, she said. After the birth. He waited. They say my existence has already changed their systems, she continued. They say others like me may exist, hidden, suppressed. Ethan exhaled slowly. That's a lot. Yes, she agreed. They want me to be proof. And what do you want? He asked. She looked down at herself, one hand resting where new life waited. I want choice, she said. He smiled. That sounds very human of you. The birth came during a routine cycle without alarms or panic. The medical bay was quiet, controlled, supportive. Valera focused on her breathing, on her strength, on the steady presence of those around her. Ethan was there, exactly where she wanted him to be. The process was long but not dangerous. Her body adapted as it always had, strong, capable, resilient. When it was over, the room was silent for a moment. Then a small sound filled the space. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. The medical staff froze, then moved with careful precision. Scanners confirmed what everyone already felt. The child was healthy, balanced, possible. Valera held her child carefully, awe spreading through her in waves. The weight was light compared to the load she had carried her whole life, yet it felt heavier in meaning than anything she had ever known. Ethan stood beside her, eyes wet, voice unsteady. "Hey there," he whispered. Valera looked at him. "They said this could not happen," he smiled softly. "They say that a lot." News spread across the station within hours, across networks within days, across cultures within weeks. Images were shared, data analyzed. Arguments reignited, but something had changed. No one could call it a mistake anymore. The Cathari delegation returned, this time without armor, without escorts, without certainty. Valera stood before them again, her child held securely against her chest. "This changes our understanding," the lead authority admitted. "We must revise our classifications." "You must revise your beliefs," Valera corrected. He inclined his head. "Yes." Human representatives stood nearby, silent but present. The words non-viable were removed from several databases that cycle, quietly, without announcement. But the removal mattered. Later, when the station returned to its routine, Valera sat in her quarters, her child sleeping peacefully nearby. Ethan sat across from her, watching with a soft smile. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "More than I expected," he hesitated. "About what they asked you about returning." She considered the question carefully. "I will go," she said finally, "but not as they expect." He nodded. "Figures. I will not belong to their system," she continued. "They will need to meet me where I stand." "And where is that?" he asked. She looked around the small room. "Here and wherever I choose next." Ethan smiled. "Then I guess I should start packing." She tilted her head. "You assume you are invited." He met her gaze, serious now. "Am I?" She studied him. The human who had never tried to make her smaller, who had never stepped back when others did, who had believed in her body when the galaxy refused to. "Yes," she said. "You are." Beyond K-17 Driftway, change spread slowly, painfully, but it spread. New studies began. Old laws were questioned. Other Cathari stepped forward, revealing differences once hidden in shame. And among the stars, one truth became harder to ignore. Humans did not conquer with weapons alone. They conquered with belief. Belief in individuals, in choice, in possibility. Valera held her child and looked toward the future, no longer afraid of taking up space. The galaxy had tried to define her limits. Humanity had simply asked her who she wanted to be. And that, more than anything, changed everything.